Fear impacts everybody and can have a tremendous impact on our performance, productivity, and our balance in life. I'll explain that and how to reduce fear in this video. Hello, I'm Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. Fear impacts everybody, and it really depends on how we respond to it and for how long in terms of the long-term effect of it and its also impact on our dimensions of life. So I'm going to explain that in this video. But I wanted to relate fear to the levels of growth of a human being. And the higher we are in our level of growth, the less impact fear has on us. Now, you can't eliminate fear completely because it's inborn in us. But when we look at the levels of growth, now this model came from Dr. Michael Durst, who created the training programs Management by Responsibility and Pride Personal Performance, Personal Responsibility in Developing Excellence. And I used to deliver these training programs, and it also had a big impact on me. I remember being in a session with Durst, and really it's a great concept when you put it to use, of course, because we learn and read about so many things, but we don't actually implement that many. So if you could learn something here and implement it, and I'm actually making available a worksheet that you can use to use these ideas. Now, Durst doesn't produce these programs anymore, so I'm taking this opportunity to share this knowledge with you. So the levels of growth, as he calls it, start at the bottom at the unconscious level. Then you have the self-protective, the conformist, the achievement, and the responsible. And so at the bottom levels, people live in a greater state of fear, even at the conformist level. The unconscious level is a level where we typically don't spend much time unless you're non-functioning. So these are people who, anybody who spends a lot of time at this level may be institutionalized because they're not conscious enough to take care of themselves or to function in this world. The self-protective level is a level of growth that is very ineffective, and we shouldn't be spending a lot of time at this level, but there are people that do, and they don't function very well because they're in often a state of fear. And this is where people tend to live in a state of blame, fault-finding. They don't take responsibility for what's going on in their lives. They tend to blame others, maybe their upbringing, maybe society, maybe the government, whatever. But they're not responsible for what's going on in their lives, so they don't have to take responsibility, and they protect themselves. There's also a lot of lying going on at this level. So if you know people that lie all the time, then they're spending a lot of time, or they're at the level of growth a lot of the time at the self-protective level. But I also find that people who perform or are at the higher levels do go to the self-protective level at times. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of lying going on in this world. You know, when you talk to people, you often don't get the truth. And they're telling you a lie, maybe just to protect themselves, because they are afraid to tell you the truth, either to hurt you or just to avoid conflict, depending on the type of person they are, if they're very emotional. So we avoid telling the truth by lying, and we think it's okay because everybody does it. But at that moment, we're becoming self-protective, and it's not effective. So responsible people, they're not afraid to tell the truth and to deal with whatever reaction they get from people. So they don't have to lie to protect themselves. At the conformist level, people are in fear of what others may think of them. So at this level, we're living up to conformity. You know, we follow the rules. We want to live according to the standards that others impose on us, or to fit in with our friends, to fit into society. So it's a very safe way of living. Dr. Durr says that most people spend most of their time at the conformist level. And in order to achieve more in life and to have a more enriched life, because at this level, it's kind of boring. You know, you're just conforming, you're playing it safe. When we go beyond that, we start taking more risk in life. The problem at the achievement level is that often the achievement is for external status or reward. It's not internalized enough. It's not coming from us, and that can lead to overachievement, causing burnout. At the responsible level, we're achieving, but we don't achieve to meet other people's expectations or for external reasons. Not that we don't achieve to acquire nice things, but we do it in a more thoughtful, more conscious way. And it's coming based on what we define success for us. We don't overconsume just to have more things. We do it because there's a reason, there's a purpose behind everything we do. So there's less fear at the higher levels, but at any time, we could go from being responsible down to, let's say, the self-protective level because of fear. Now, it could be a fear imposed on us. Obviously, if we're in a situation where there's danger, the survival instinct kicks in and the fear becomes apparent. Survival generates fear and causes us to self-protect ourselves, and that's normal, especially when there's danger. But most of the times we're not in danger, and there's no reason to have to protect ourselves if we're functioning at one of the higher levels, or especially at the responsible level. So the goal in life would be to work towards becoming as responsible as we can, because all these levels affect what Durst calls the dimensions of life. And I have them written here. So these are the dimensions of life. And the first one is the emotional response. So how we respond to emotion, our emotional response to situations and to people. So again, like if we are fearful of telling the truth because of the emotions it might cause, then we would go to the self-protective level at that particular moment to avoid those types of emotions. But again, a responsible person isn't afraid to be honest with people and deal with the consequence. Intellectual functioning is our ability to think clearly, and also what we think about. You know, it's not just thinking clearly, it's about what we choose to think about, because we can choose what we think about. And responsible people tend to think about higher thoughts, problem solving, making improvements to their environment, to the world, innovating, creativity. Activity involvement is how well we perform whatever it is we choose to be involved with, whether it's our jobs, the activities that we do. So how able we are to do that. Self-discipline is how we can control our desires, our emotions, not going overboard. Relationships, how healthy our relationships are. Again, that's, they're interrelated, of course. Physical state, our health, our well-being, and our spiritual dimension could be from a religious perspective, but just our recognition of a force, a creative force that's greater than us, and our ability to be at one with ourselves, our spiritual dimension. So, they're all interconnected. For example, if our emotional state is very poor, again, because of being in a conflictual situation, causing us a lot of stress, having to seek help, well, this could again lead to depression, which will affect our physical state and cause perhaps some health issues as well. Maybe we won't be able to exercise because we're too depressed or whatever, and this will generate more problems for us. If we become unhealthy, we all know when we get sick from the flu or whatever, it affects all our dimensions of life. Everything is terrible. We can't do the things we like to do. We don't do them well. We have to stay home. Our thoughts aren't clear. Our emotions are all screwed up. We can't have good relationships. So all these things are affected. When one of them goes down, they all go down. When one goes up, they all can go up as well. And it's also affected by the levels of growth. So the goal of a human being to reduce fear or to be better balanced, I talked about balance in my previous video, is to strive to understand what it is to function at the highest level. Durst calls it the responsible level. Others call it fully functioning human being, the evolved person. There's different names that people give to it. And so it's kind of like striving towards perfection, something we never actually get to. So I've made a worksheet that you could refer to and plan out how you could function more at the responsible level. Where do you function at the lower levels and how it affects the dimensions of life? And I've given also a sample that you can use from Durst that's already completed, so you get a sense of where you need to work on, where the priority should be. So you could download that from my website. There's a link in the description of this video. I hope you find this video useful and that you'll actually take action on it and reduce fear in your life, create better balance. Check out some related videos. I mentioned the one on balance. You could find that one in the link in the description of this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you get news of new videos. Check out the articles in the blog section of my website. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.